Saw something on the printed page that said this will determine whether Out of Sight will help Clooney clear the TV doctor wall. What the hell is that about? And do you feel you have to clear anybody's wall?
No, you look. Depending on who you talk to or when you talk to them, after Dusk Till Dawn came out, I was a breakout, going to make it in films, and then One Fine Day doesn't do so well, and however it's going to bomb. It's literally monthly whether or not you're succeeding or not. So the thing is, you can't worry about stuff that's out of your control.
What were your early memories of dealing with George?
He was great. He was very open to my ideas. I had a lot of my work still to this day combines vintage with modern, current of the time. And I had a theory that I actually goes all the way back to Reservoir Dogs, that if you're a criminal who's in and out of jail, you probably don't have a lot of money, and so you might shop at the thrift store. And the first suit I made for him, actually, he loved that suit. And I have to say, in honor of tailors everywhere, I put a red lining in a Glen Plaid suit. And my thing for him was that he was a little retro. The suits were a little 60s. Was always into that. That was my silhouette of preferences. You can kind of see even going back in time. And I put the red lining in there, and he used it for me. So that's my memory of George Clooney, is that he works, everything you give him, he'll use it. He did that little dance on the steps after he thinks he's gotten away with the robbery, and he opens his coat up, you see the red lining, and other guys would have just walked down the stairs. So my memory of him is being extremely collaborative, so much fun. He's quite a prankster, still is. And he was very receptive to my ideas, as I was to his.
That red lining really stuck with me because it pops. It reminds me like a sort of like an Oswald Boateng suit from the time. You go, oh, hang on, it's just got a little something about it. It's just and it kind of reflects his very cheeky, charismatic personality. It's just that little pop of color against the Glen. It's a grey, isn't it? Grey Glen Plaid suit. It's one of my favorite bits. The first time you see him, isn't it, in a movie? It's our first introduction to Foley. George Clooney is that suit, and it tells you a lot about him, I think.
The opening image for me is very important. But, Peter, he was great to work with. It was a fabulous experience all the way around.
Yeah, I love the establishing shot in that, because he's ripping off the tie as he's coming down the stairs. So and then I think that's when you get the flare of the skirt of the jacket pops up, and you get to see the red there. But you also know that by the ripping off the tie, he is not a man of business of sorts. This is just his disguise. I mean, he's not comfortable wearing a suit, or he might be comfortable, but it's not his given choice, is it? And then obviously it unfolds later on.
Yes, and you have to give a lot of credit to the very talented and dear friend of mine, Scott Frank, who wrote the screenplay, because it's hard to remember if those, we call them Rileys, little instructions, the screen instructions, came from Scott or they came from George. And, when you have a character, as Chris knows that because he, did Godless as well, Scott Frank, which it has suits, but they're from 1886. But his characters are very well defined. And then you go back a step to Elmore Leonard, who wrote the original book, Out of Sight, and he also defines characters. So it's really a good base for all the creative people involved to know from whence they came and where they are going.
Betsy, could we talk a little bit about what I consider to be the scene when we introduce George in the tailored look, as Chris referred to earlier? So to tee it up, there's Jennifer Lopez's character, and she's being chatted up, as we say over here, by 3 different guys. And these are all kind of well-to-do business guys. You can tell that they're almost fresh out of the office. They're all wearing ties. They all crash and burn. And then we see that first moment of George in the reflection. And you can sense that this is going to be a real moment, but not just for these 2 characters, but it's also going to be a big moment for you, because he has to look the nails here. Can you, when you were reading that especially, did you know that this was going to be a very big moment for you?
Well, I don't mean to contradict you, but they're all pretty big moments for me. I sort of visualize a character. I kind of do it all in my brain, and then I do it physically. So um, I don't put that kind of pressure on myself. I have a wider scope of vision. I think that when you try too hard, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. You know, it locks my brain up. I can't think clearly. I can't design when I have the pressure of, oh my God, this is so important. But I don't mean to contradict my friend Christopher, but that was a Navy suit.
I did
Um,
wonder. I did wonder. Yeah, because
the,
obviously under the lights, it looks different, doesn't it? You know, if you wear a black suit under the lights, it's like I wondered about Jennifer's leather coat. Was that black?
no,
Was it really deep purple,
Purple,
or
brother.
gunmetal gray.
gunmetal? See, it's so interesting because under the different stages of lighting throughout the film, when she's lit obviously in different places wearing the coat, and I couldn't place the color because of the different lighting. First of all, I thought it was black, and I thought it's not black, but I couldn't place what it was.
Well, cinematically, I don't use black very often. In fact, the suits in Reservoir Dogs, some of them were not black either, but they photograph black. It's not how things look, it's how they photograph. Anyway, back to George. I thought it was really important. I mean, you know, George Clooney in a suit is a pretty stunning thing if you get the right cut. So you've already got that working for you. And I also, to sort of complete that narrower silhouette, because it was the exact same silhouette as the first suit. It was just more of a silk mohair so that it would make some reflections. And also, I used a shirt. I made this shirt for him that was off of a shirt I had found in a vintage store with a very small collar, and it was a button-down collar, but it was a 60s really narrow button-down collar. And that's good for George because he's slim. You know, I'm big on the collar and the width of the collar opposed to the neck, but the breadth of the chest, the width of the tie, if there is a tie, the width of the lapel, all of it comes together by the type of the person inside. You know, that's what I think makes it a good moment, a big moment, is that he's sleek. It's obviously not a modern cut because you've seen the three other guys and they were in their modern cuts, which in 1998, the movie came out in 99, but we made it in 98. There was a much fuller silhouette for men at that time.
Perfect. Betsy, I had one last question because we're going to run out of time on this particular episode. It's actually also, I keep on saying this is my favorite scene, but this is my favorite scene. Don Cheadle at the end when he's robbing the house and he finds the safe and he's going through the suits and he has enough time to match the ties with all the different outfits. And he's just going, oh, that's working. That's working.
Yeah, that's working. That's working.
That was terrific. Was that scripted or was any of that improvised? Did you have to
That's
deal
all
with
done. He's a genius. He's so great. I've done a few things with him, and he's, you know, if you have a good actor and you give them good stuff, they know how to use it. And look what he did. He's just amazing. It was great. It was so great.